Fine, fine. Yes.
Okay.
So I just wanted to do. Good evening, guys. I'm welcome. We're welcoming you, the Madhu Redala, and I want to just introduce about the speaker. So she's an agile coach, certified Scrum trainer, and transformational enthusiast. She is having 22 years of experience in technology background, and she worked on end-to-end development experience with MS Technologies. So, and his agile passion for agile has led to normal like large scale applications and through training and coaching teams. She also written a book called Retrospective for Everyone, and she also written has many articles like Garden Your Thoughts and Kanban.net Game and many others. So she's author of many books and she's also written articles. So I will keep here in the chat and you can go through it. So over to you, Madhuri. You can start
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Thanks, Ajay. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, yes, we can see a screen.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Ajay, for the introduction. So, good morning, everyone. Again, a warm welcome to this session on retrospectives, a guided tour to retrospectives. So, I'm Madhvi. I'm from Hyderabad, India. And a quick introduction about me before I get started. I've been in the IT industry for more than 20 years. I basically started as a technologist. I worked with Microsoft technologies like VB.NET, C#.NET. And after spending significant number of years in the technology stack, some of the process roles interested me. And that is when I transitioned to play the role of an agile coach. And as an agile coach, I've mentored various scrum masters and product owners. I've worked with various organizations, helped them transform from waterfall to agile methodologies. So as part of coaching role, I was working with a lot of teams, especially scrum teams. And one of my focus area was to how to engage the teams in their self-reflection exercises. That's the retrospectives. So I was, trying out various things. I was using different examples, metaphors, and whenever I was using some real life examples and metaphors, somehow I felt that the team's engagement levels were increasing. And the feedback I was getting from my team when I was using different examples and metaphors was really great. And that was actually, what led me to put all these metaphors I've been using so far in the form of a book and published it. So let me give you all a quick, introduction about why and how I started using these metaphors for driving the retrospective discussions. So we all know that metaphors are analogies that describe any situation, right? They have been proven to be instrumental in creating long-lasting memories. And we also see these metaphors being used in all industries, in all social media campaigns, be it sales and marketing. So can anyone give me any examples of metaphors that you folks have used or have seen been using around? Any example of any metaphor from any one of you all on the session? Anyone would like to share? Okay, let's take some more inputs as we go through the class. See, we know Albert Einstein, right? So Albert Einstein says that if you want your children to be smart, tell them stories. If you want them to be brilliant, tell them more stories. And I feel it's so true, and I can resonate to this. See, stories using metaphors are a powerful way to connect to one's subconscious mind. And fostering creative ideation using metaphors is what is actually called as metaphorical thinking. And I was really able to witness an improvement in teams' engagement levels when I used these metaphors for reflections. And also let me, share a little bit of science behind these metaphors, the neurological perspective of it. See, neuroscience tells us that our brain loves metaphors and it can relate better to analogies and visual illustrations, as you can see from this picture. So basically, metaphors ease the cognitive strain of our brain. See, neuroplasticity describes how our brain undergoes a lot of psychological changes during the interactions with the environment. And this is an ongoing process, that helps us learn, unlearn, and adapt to different situations. So whenever we learn something new, we create new connections between the neurons and we rewire our brain to adapt to these new circumstances. And this is something that happens on an ongoing daily basis. But the good thing is that what I learned from my experience is that we can also encourage and stimulate these thinking process using visual metaphors. So I would say an effective retrospective can help invoke such discussions and enhance the thinking competency of your team members, right? And also all of us must have heard about this growth mindset, right? So people with growth mindset constantly strive to get better. They continuously learn from their experiments. And they are the people who can really sustain failures and learnings. And this resonates with what neuroplasticity also describes. And I believe an effective retrospective can create a platform for such impactful and enriching experiences. And that's the reason I was so inclined toward using metaphors, and my experience of this really encouraged me to research and use different kinds of metaphors. So that was a quick introduction about the science behind using these metaphors. I hope you folks found it useful. So if you folks are wondering basically what is in it for me in the next 30 minutes, I think, see, this session on metaphorical thinking, using metaphors for retrospectives will introduce you to a new approach of creating impactful and meaningful reflections for your teams, both personal and professional encounters. It will also appreciate how storytelling using metaphors can foster an out-of-box thinking, right? And this also will leave you, I'm sure, with a new perspective of how you can create your own custom collaboration frameworks based on your your real life experiences that you encounter. And also you would be able to appreciate how these frameworks can be used for facilitating any kind of team discussions, including retrospectives, not just retrospectives, any discussions you're having, generic discussions, you can use these frameworks for reflections. So that was a quick intro about what are we actually trying to do and what is in it for you all. So let's get started with the actual topic. Before that, I just wanted to hear from you all, how satisfied are you, from the retrospectives you're currently doing? Do you think like, we are really getting very good value from the retrospectives, or, getting some moderate value, or you see no value? Anyone would like to share any thoughts or inputs on how are your retrospectives currently, going through with your teams? Any inputs on the chat? Let me just check the chat. Okay. Okay.
Now we can continue. I will collect the questions, ma'am. I will give it to you.
Okay, fine. So let me, talk about basically how I was creating the metaphors and how I actually clustered these metaphors into different groups. So basically, I created a group that is used for managing change, created a group for nurturing teamwork, going beyond the routine, reflecting on the product leadership concept of it, state of mind, and personal reflections. So I created around 50 collaboration frameworks, and I grouped them into these logical clusters so that readers can actually select something that they need for their work at ease. So let me take you all through some of the metaphors that I have created. The first one is fly high. So let me start sharing an experience from a playful festival kite flying. So this analogy would work in cases where your team is going through several impediments but is not ready to take ownership of these issues and tries to pin the blame on the leadership. So let me explain this scenario. We were flying kites, as you can see in the picture, during January Sankranti, the festival, which is Indian Harvest Festival. Here is where you see me flying kites with my cousins. So one day the kite string had few tangles on the ground, and we were easily able to untangle them. But when the kite got stuck in the electric wire in the tree, we took external help, used long sticks, and took neighbors' permission to access their rooftop to remove the kite. So later, one of the teams was struggling to come out of the blindfolded game where they were not ready to take ownership to resolve any of the impediments they were facing. So somehow this analogy struck me. I used this experience of mine with the teams, shared how we could untangle the knots of the string, and how we reached for help when the kite got stuck on the tree. So this example really worked well with the team, and they were able to differentiate what they can improve by themselves and for what they need help with. So whenever you feel that your team is really stuck with the impediments and not taking ownership to resolve, maybe you can try using this metaphor. This will easily, help them distinguish what is in their scope of control and what is not there in the scope of control. So they do a retrospective using this metaphor, and whatever the teams are putting and the organizational level space, you can take those to the leadership, get the right help. So such kind of analogies will easily help them demarcate what is they can do on their own, for what do they really need help for, right? So this was one of the example. And the other one, this is electric eel. So basically, here's another interesting example. So this metaphor, electric eel, brings the product into focus rather than the team execution. So it talks about the product competitiveness and the hardcore competition around the market and how we can really address it. See, if you want your teams to think out of box and come up with exceptional ideas, then this technique might help. Try it out. So let me give a quick background of how I came up with this metaphor. I was vacationing in Singapore and visited their aquarium. So there I saw a fish called as electric eel, which is like a giant battery that emits volts of electricity and can kill people instantaneously. And somehow I couldn't stop thinking about this fish. One day I saw a team discussing the cutthroat competition in the market, and they were debating on what they can add to the product that will enable them to fight the competition. And I was, just observing them, what they were doing, what they were what they were sharing with each other. And suddenly I could relate this to the electric eel that has the ability to kill. So spontaneously, I described the unique trait of this fish, and I asked the team, hey, what is that one electric feature you would want to build that would kill all competitors in the market? And this metaphor brought forth a lot of brainstorming, and we got some very great ideas. Right, so this was one of the examples that really worked, which I didn't expect would, but the teams really like this analogy. So whenever you come across something in your own experience, when you see something, something that's you really can't forget about it, when you find a experience of your team which you think can be related to a particular analogy, you can just try it out. Nothing wrong. If it fails, it fails. It's a learning for you, right? Okay. So let me take you all through the other one. Now this is called as set me free. Set me free metaphor. So often, teams have constraints owing to which they do not move forward. So if you want your teams to reflect on the constraints they face, then this might be the technique that will really work. Again, it depends upon the team context and what they are actually facing through. So in one of my retrospective meetings, I described the situation of a bird that is confined to a cage, and I asked the team what could be done to let the bird explore the world. There came a prompt response from the team: set it free and let it fly. And I used that response and asked the team, do we think our team also has similar constraints because of which we cannot explore the limitless possibilities in front of us? For a moment, the team was silent. But then they slowly started opening up. Right? There was an aha moment for me, and I understood how well the team could relate to setting a bird free. So if you really want to use this technique with your teams, what you should be doing is, draw a picture of this on a whiteboard, right? Ask the teams to think of the constraints they face in their teams, and ask them to write down all the constraints on post-its, put it inside the cage. Then ask them to think about the opportunities they see in front of them, and ask them to take these opportunities, put on the post-its, and put it outside the cage. Now ask them to think about what they can do to overcome a few of these constraints, and also maybe discuss what support they need from leadership to get rid of their constraints. So in effect, this exercise should really help the team arrive at what is in their scope of control, and anything that they need help for, they can always take it forward. Clear, folks? Any questions?
Any questions? No, ma'am. We can continue, ma'am.
Okay. So let me take you all through another metaphor, chemical reaction. This is one of my favorites. Okay. So this is like, I would say I would, use it like a professional coaching tool that can be used during coaching to help teams or individuals identify the catalysts which would help them achieve their goals. So basically, how I came up with this technique. This technique came to my mind from the days when I used to conduct experiments in the chemistry lab. And I remember, still I remember how we used to add different chemicals that catalyze the reaction. So what I did was I actually used this experience of mine, I actually used this technique of mine to reflect on my experience on, for working on my goal of writing a book. See, there will be many goals that one thinks of accomplishing. All you need is those catalyzers that will help you meet your goals. So, in my case, when I use this metaphor, the catalyzers for achieving my goal, that is for writing a book, was to find a place where the community can actually access my ideas, try them out, and give me feedback so that I can inspect and adapt based on the feedback I'm getting. Now, how will I reach out my ideas to the community? What enablers will help me make that is basically I need to write articles. I had to start speaking in conferences, because when I do this, when I start talking to people, connecting to people, going to meetups, conferences, that is what will enable me to actually sound my ideas through the audience. My ideas will reach out to the wider audience, and that will enable me in socializing my ideas with them, and I get the feedback. So basically, see, this metaphor can be used, it's like a professional coaching tool that can be used during coaching by asking powerful questions to help them identify the catalyst, which in turn will help them achieve their goal. So first of all, what is their goal? Put the goal at the center. Then talk about the catalyst. Then you could ask them to focus on what do they need to do to enable the catalyst, that is the actions that they can actually trigger the reaction. So this is an example of how it can be used by anyone who is willing to go through their personal reflection journey. So anyone has any goal, just put the goal in the center. Think about the catalysts that have to be, in place for the goal to, become a reality. Then you think about the enablers that will help, catalyze the things that you want to do. For example, how I said writing the book was my goal, and the catalyzers were where I can actually find the community to know what is my idea. For my ideas to be accessible to the community, the enablers where I should go speak at conferences, write articles, go to meetups, socialize with people. Right? So for any personal reflections, the goals you want to achieve, you can just use it by yourself. And it can be used with teams as well. Okay. So that was around this. Now let me take you all through stories, how I use stories and games for doing these reflections. I basically love and cherish all my childhood stories, and I use them for triggering ideas wherever appropriate. Okay, let me share a few examples. Let's talk about the rabbit and tortoise. Right, so I think, see, don't we all know the famous story of rabbit and tortoise where the tortoise focuses well and wins the race? I'm sure all of us still remember. The rabbit loses because of its overconfidence and negligence. Right? So during the sprint, you may notice that the team is functioning in an ad hoc manner, lacks focus on the goal, and it is working mechanically. So given the situation, right, then this particular story will act as a good metaphor to get the team going. Just, first draw a picture of, your rabbit and tortoise, put a goal and a finish line. Ask the teams to put the goal on the finish line. Then ask them to think about all the neglected decisions, ad hoc decisions that they have made. Put them, add rabbits for those ad hoc neglected decisions. Then ask them to brainstorm what can they do differently so that they don't do the same thing again in the future. Add, ask them to brainstorm and add as many tortoises as possible. So if your team is, likes childhood games and all, these analogies will work really good. Similarly, Aladdin the magic lamp. So generally, when I do the team reflection exercises, I use this metaphor, and I ask, hey, folks, imagine Aladdin is here to grant wishes. So what are the 3 wishes you want Aladdin to grant for your team? Then teams come up with all the 3 wishes. Then have a discussion. Okay, these are our 3 wishes that we want Aladdin to grant us. What do we think we can do to make these wishes a reality? get good points and good discussions. Snake and ladders. If your team loves board games, then this will really work. So general retrospectives, talk about all the snakes the teams have encountered in the sprint that have really, stopped them from achieving the goal. Capture them as snakes. Then capture all the ladders that they have, something that really helped them achieve the goal. So once we have the snakes and ladders captured, because snakes are, scared of fire, right? Add as many fire torches as you want. That is action items, what we should be doing differently so that we don't again end up in getting the same problems. Again, a different visualization and different brainstorming. And I'm sure all of us have heard the three monkey story, right? So this would really prove to be very helpful in sprint retrospectives, where you ask your team about what they like to see in their next sprint, what they would like to hear in their next sprint, and what they would like to see about in their next sprint. So basically, what they would like to hear, what they would like to see, and what they would like to speak. Three monkeys, right? Now, to add more data, you could also ask them what you do not want to see, hear, and speak in the next sprint. And then you ask your team members to collaboratively discuss what they can do so that their do not want wish list does not come true. So try it out. It works. So first, ask them what they want to see, what they want to hear, what they want to speak. Have your data ready. What they do not want to see, hear, and speak. So now what they should be doing so that they do not want wish list will never come true. Again, you'll get good data for reflection. So first draw the picture on the board and then you gather your data. Okay, so this was how some of the stories, games can be used for reflections. So now let me show you all some pictures. Here are some pictures that have used these metaphors for doing in-person retrospectives. The first one is climbing a mountain, basketball, fly high, the rocket launch, tend your garden, snakes and ladders, right? Remote control and team journey. So if your team is co-located, the best way to engage discussion is to use design elements like chart papers, sticky notes, Sharpies, markers, so that the teams will really be engaged, because when you give them something to write, come, put on the board and talk, it will really create that engagement. So, try different ways. So then finally, let me also take you all through how can we use a combination of these metaphors for, for talking about a complex problem. Now, suppose you want to, try to build a new product. So basically, you can start with climbing a mountain to discuss specific product asks to understand the customer pain area. So first we use climbing the mountain. Now, once we have the enablers and pain points captured, we can then use the dream catcher to capture the features that can be built to tackle the pain areas and leverage on the enablers. And you can add longer features to represent complex workflows. Then you can use a product yield to pick the key features that would differentiate the product in the market. It's like, to cut the cutthroat competition, what are those features would you add that will actually make your product stand out in the market? Then next step, you can use a mushroom cloud to break down the features into smaller doable increments. So it's like whenever you're dealing with a complex workflow, you can use a combination of these metaphors for us to arrive at the end goal. Okay. So here's another example of how do we use combination of frameworks for doing your team discovery exercises. So first start with team journey. Understand how the journey was so far, what went well, enablers, impediments they were coming across, any new ideas they have. Okay, then do a pulse check to check on their emotional well-being. Then talk about magic lamp. Okay, what do you want Aladdin to grant for your team? Then once you discuss all these, come up with action items, use time travel as a metaphor, where you put the action items into different sections. What is that you want to work now, a little later, and then long-term objectives. It's basically use one after the other. Okay. Now coming to distributed retrospectives, see all these techniques can be used even in distributed environments. Doing retrospectives in a distributed setup used to be very challenging because of the dysfunctions of the distance we have. But I think in the new normal, this is no longer a challenge. All the techniques can be used even in your distributed setup by using good collaboration tools like Miro, Mural, Jamboard, Trello, Idea boards, etc. So here are some of the pictures where I have done or the retrospectives in a distributed environment. So the only crux when you're doing your retros in a distributed environment is you have to select the right collaboration tool. Facilitation is the key, and have good working agreements. How do you want to start doing things? Any questions, folks? So far?
Seems no questions at this point in time. I didn't see anything, Madhuri,
Okay.
here. If there are any, I'll certainly
Sure.
let you know. Yeah.
I just wanted to play a video that shows how fly high retrospective was done in a remote environment. I'm not sure if you, Ajay,
Play
you
it,
can
Madhuri.
confirm.
I'll
Right?
just confirm whether it is playing properly. Yeah, it is playing fine, Madhuri.
Okay.
Great way to create
It's
awesome
playing well.
teams. Here we are starting this Fly High retrospective where we get to talk about organizational impediments as we fly higher into awesome work. We're capturing team impediments, good things that are happening as kites, and those wires that are getting us into trouble. As we've captured all that information, we're ready now to process that. So we download it into an Excel file for more detailed processing. Okay, we pull that information up, we do a little bit of Excel magic, and we create some color coding just to make it a little easier. Time to decide what to do. Team gathers into the information into groups, and we go ahead and find some affinity groups that we can create for all of these items that we pulled in, some which are good, some which aren't as much. So we have lots of actions we may take. Celebration, actually work with certain people in the organization, encourage training inside because we are a learning organization, and then realize we cannot take all of these actions on at once. Team determines when these actions should be addressed and who will shepherd each action. I hope you enjoyed this quick view into retrospectives.
Okay. So this was an example of how this was facilitated in a remote setup. Okay. So let me go back to the slide. Are we all able to see the slides, folks? Ajay?
Yes, Madhuri. Yes, Madhuri.
Okay. So let me also show you all how do we actually do these retros on. Yeah. Can you all see my mural?
Yes, Madhuri.
Right. So this is how you actually create your frameworks on your mural. You put the picture and you describe the framework and you give the instructions and then you ask the teams to go about doing it. For example, now let me talk about Dreamcatcher here. So I am sure all of us know about Dreamcatcher. This is basically traditionally used as a talisman to protect sleeping people, usually children, from bad dreams and nightmares. So generally, what we say is the good dreams pass by the feathers, and the bad dreams get stuck in that net. So if you want to use this metaphor for reflecting on your team journeys, what you could do is you create a picture like this, and then you explain the scenario to your teams. Hey, imagine your dream team. How do you want your dream team to look like? Add feathers for that represents all the good characteristics of the team. Then add net to represent the bad ones. So what you don't want to see in your team, put them inside the net. Then you discuss, okay, what we should be doing to enhance on the good characteristics and overcome the bad ones. Ideas for action, call to ideas. So here is a picture where this was actually facilitated, and here is how it looks. Right? You first capture all the bad ones in your net. What do you really want to see on your dream team? Basically, ownership, courage, collaboration, right? Confidence, courage to say no. Have a discussion on what you can do to negate the bad traits, and then come up with ideas of action. So, like you want to create working agreements. You want to do kickoff meetings, have regular team building activities, and one team spirit, focus on delivering value. This is how it looks like when you actually facilitate it. So, and here is an example of your complacent rabbit, which I was talking about. Right. So again, See, whenever you're using these metaphors, the crux is that how do you describe the metaphor to your teams? Are the teams really understanding the metaphor? Because only when they relate to the metaphor, they can actually use it. So, if you have to use this complacent rabbit, I will first explain what is this metaphor about. Hey, all of us know the story. We all know that rabbit loses a game because of overconfidence, but tortoise focuses and plans well. So think about our sprint. What are those neglected decisions we have taken? Ad hoc decisions, right? Put it, add as many rabbits as you can think of. Then you think about what you can do differently so that you don't repeat the same thing again. So discuss what can be done to see more of toss or tortoises and less of rabbits in the future. Come up with your action items. So what went really great will be your tortoise. What went bad will be your rabbits. So add tortoise rabbits and have a discussion. What can you do so that you see more of tortoise in your sprint? So here is an example. See again, all these metaphors can be used for your normal sprint retrospectives or any other generic discussion you're having. For example, if you look at this, we have used this metaphor. The team was using this metaphor to reflect on the Thanksgiving dinner they were doing. So what ad hoc decisions they have taken, they have captured here. Right? They were just doing just ad hoc shopping without any planned list. They did not have any guest list, so they were just randomly calling people out. What things they really neglected is basically they invited too many guests during COVID times, and there were no extra masks that were available, right? And so for ad hoc decisions, again, they brainstormed what is that they can do differently so that they don't do the same thing again. So having a guest list which is prepared, again, prepare a shopping list. For the neglected decisions, what is that they want to do differently? Maybe you should have a safe, social distancing place, have extra masks ready. And what is that they're really feeling good about? Plan decisions, capture it as tortoises. So see, all these discussion, all these metaphors can be used not just for sprints, but they can be used for any general team discussions you're having. They can be used by anyone for all age groups. It all depends upon how are you explaining the metaphor and how is the team able to relate to that metaphor in context. So that crux lies in facilitation of the metaphors. That is very important. Okay. So finally, I would like you all to introduce to this canvas. Now suppose, right, you want to create your own metaphor, right? This canvas will really help. So for those who are really wondering if none of these metaphors that I have explained or which are there in the book, they fit into your context, then how? Here is a canvas, retrospective canvas that invites you to create your own metaphors, custom metaphors for conversations. So if you look at this canvas, the different sections of the canvas. So basically, this canvas talks about first articulate your real life experience. For example, my real life experience was I was flying a kite and the kite got stuck. And how did we remove the kite is we took access to neighbors' rooftop and we used some wooden sticks. However, the tangles on the ground, we could untangle them by ourselves. So what's the learning I got? How did we resolve impediments? How do we resolve impediments in our control? And what do we do for those which are not in our control? Take help. So how can I apply this to my team? The context was basically, I saw a team that was juggling between solving impediments and they were lacking clarity as to what impediments they can take ownership and for what impediments do they really need help for. So what is the framework I created? Fly High. What was the experiment I did? I facilitated a discussion using this framework with one of the teams. What was my learning experience? My learning is what went well, how the team were able to relate, and what feedback did I get after facilitating the exercise. Are there any alternative scenarios where I can apply the same metaphor? Yes, we can definitely use this for personal goal setting. So to come up with a to-do list of things to meet your goals, what to do is same, again, use Fly High as a metaphor, put your goal in the center, come up with a to-do list of what you need to do to achieve your goals, what are the things that you can do on your own right away that will enable you to achieve your goal will be your tangles on the ground. And what are those things that you are not in your control that you need to really do for achieving your goals will be the electric wires. So what is in your scope of control, you act right away. What is not in your scope of control, you think about from where do you need to get your help so that you can achieve your goal. So the same metaphor can be used in different situations, depending upon the context. Okay. So I think, yeah, that is what I have for today. Any questions, folks? Anyone?
Hi, Madhuri, Surya here. So there is a question related to, is there any link that they can access with respect to the mural? You know, right? For example, with respect to
Yes.
safety, how PA planning template, something like that.
Yes,
If
yes.
you have any.
So the mural templates we have to create on our own. So there's no, like, I've not created all the templates on murals. So what I did is I drew the picture on a paint and I used to put the picture on the mural. So we have to create it for every technique. So whenever I used to use a technique, I used to create a mural for that particular technique on the team.
Okay, excellent. Sarfraz, I believe that answered your question. Okay, so can we have one example for reference? This is again from Sarfraz, Madhuri.
Example?
Yeah.
Examples in the sense, are these the examples you're talking about? This is
Yes,
an
yes,
example of
yes,
how.
yes, you're right, you're right. This is
Yeah.
the one. Yeah, something like this. Okay.
So does this answer the Sarfraz question?
Yes, 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 it
Okay.
answered. He said
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So there is one more question from Ujjwala Meka. So she's asking about any good team collaborators activities that can be shared at the end. Do you want to share anything with them is one thing.
See, all these are actually team collaborative activities. The dream catcher will work really great.
Okay.
Especially when you're starting your team, right? New team.
Yeah. Yes.
Try using dream catcher because you're just actually telling them, okay, how do you want your dream team to look like? You're setting the stage right?
Yes.
They will capture all the to-do list. Okay, then have a brainstorming of, okay, if you want these to come true, what is that you need to do?
Yes.
Really,
Yes.
Aladdin magic lamp metaphor also really works great. What are the 3 wishes you want Aladdin to grant? So you actually, when you're facilitating it, you will actually know what is that your team really wants. What are their
Yes.
top 3 wishes, and then you can actually figure out what you can do from your end at least to ensure that your team is able to reach there.
Yes.
So all these simple metaphors, they will work really great when you try it out.
Yes. Yeah. One more question from Aditya. So how to encourage the team members to take active participation in the retros?
See, sometimes when you have new team members, right, they will have an inhibition to speak up and open up. That is natural.
Yes.
So what you can do is you can try taking anonymous feedback in the retrospectives only. Suppose I'm using Dreamcatcher, right? Or any other, I'm using whatever technique. So what you do is you give post-its to your team members. Okay? And you give your team members 5 minutes. Think about what went well, what did not go well. Capture the points and put it up on the wall. And you're getting an anonymous feedback. Okay? And everybody is fine writing anonymously because they're not putting their name.
Yes.
Once you get the feedback put on the board, what you do is take each sticky note, have a discussion, and have everyone on the team comment about that item, again anonymously. So
Yep.
that is one way of gathering feedback and making everyone talk about that point.
Yeah. So
However,
eventually that will encourage the team members also, is what your point. Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful.
But however, after some time, you're right, your team should be able to speak up openly. So you should slowly set that stage.
Yes.
Initially, your team is new, yes, they'll have inhibitions. But at certain point of time, yes, they should start opening up. So that is where your personal one-on-one coaching is required.
Yes. Thank you, Madhuri. There is one more question about, right, there are, usually we have a good list of retro action items that usually get as a big backlog, retrospective backlog. So how to kind of, handle or tackle such kind of backlog? Two people are actually looking for that question.
Yeah. So generally what I do is, this is a common situation we face. I use dot voting technique. So it's a facilitation technique. Suppose we have 10 action items, right? We want the teams to pick 2 or 3 to start with, not everything. Use dot voting as a technique. So every member of the team gets 3 votes. They will distribute these 3 votes across these items based on what they think is important. At the end of it, whichever item is getting the maximum votes, you pick the first 2 or 3. Once the teams are done with those 2 or 3, then you pick again do dot voting, pick the next 2 or 3. That might work.
Yes. Wonderful, Madhuri.
One more question, madam.
Yeah.
From Vaishnav, is there more way of making sprint retrospective on remote?
Yeah, so for making your retrospectives remote, actually there are different collaboration tools. One is what I'm sharing, Miro is there. This is Mural. You can do Miro. You can use Retrium. You can use Trello, idea boards, jam boards. See, the simplest way is first draw a picture on a piece of paper. Take a picture of the picture, convert it to an image, upload the image on your tools. Like, see, because all of these are images only. Upload the image on the tool and then you create the technique. Add sticky notes and let the teams play around. So if your teams are in the virtual environment, use some tools like this. And this is also, you're getting feedback from every member on the team. Let them put the feedback, then you take each item, discuss the feedback.
But she's asking one more question. She wants, can you show some of them? Vaishnav is asking, can you show some of them, like regarding the retrospective?
Tools you're asking?
Tools. So can you show some of them? So,
Meanwhile, Madhvi shares her
idea boards.
Meanwhile, Madhvi shares her screen. I request everyone who has participated, I see a very good count of people who joined this session, to please provide your poll answer.
Yes.
Okay, we have released a poll. I will seriously request you to do that, because it will also help both the strategical and of course our participant, our trainer Madhvi, to kind of improve. Okay, I will request you to take the poll as well. Yes, Madhvi, please.
Yeah, so this is your idea boards where you can create your different retrospective techniques. Then we have Retrium that has a lot of retrospective techniques inbuilt.
Absolutely.
It's all these are different tools you can use. In Retrium, you have inbuilt tools. So this is your pulse check. So the techniques are inbuilt on the tool. Right?
Yes.
This is Miro, Mural. Miro is there. Then Google Jamboards can be used. This is what you're asking, right, Vaishnavi?
Yes, you are right. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So these are your Google Jamboards. Right? You can use different things. Clear, folks?
Yeah. There is one more question from Bhavana. It's a little interesting. How do I bring very seasoned people to participate in these discussions? For example, veteran healthcare professionals.
Come again. What is the question?
How do I bring very seasoned people to participate in these discussions? For example, veteran healthcare professionals.
See, healthcare or any domain, the domain should not matter, right?
Yeah.
How do you get people participating is, first of all, what do you want to address? Right? The
objective.
Agenda should be clear.
Yes.
Only when the agenda is clear, people would look forward to come and talking with you, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So once you get people on stage, generally what I do is I first make a disclaimer. I'm here to first understand the current state. I want all of you all to understand your current state. I want you all to reflect on what's happening. And I want to, see what can be done to improve our current state.
Yes.
So once you set that stage right, that this is not a blame game, we are trying to get together to discuss how are we doing as a team, what can we do to get better. It's not like a blame game. I think once the stage is set and the objective is set, I think it will help. And all these techniques, right, can be used for any team discussion. Suppose you want to improve the quality of your product, you can use sailboat.
Yes.
Right? A sailboat is basically, if we give a metaphor of a team traveling in a boat, and we ask them what are the winds that are helping the teams achieve the goal, similar to the winds in the sea. Then we ask them to compare the anchors that are stopping the boat from moving forward to the impediments they are facing in the sprint. Now, suppose you want to improve the quality of your product. Your goal is improve the quality. The winds will be what will help us improve the quality of the product. Anchors will be what problems we are facing now that are actually making our quality so bad. So capture the anchors in the winds and have a discussion. So once that objective of the meeting is set right, I think getting the people onboarding is not an issue. Again, once you get your people onboarded, it all depends upon how you are facilitating, taking the data, and then you're driving it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions that anyone wants to answer? Okay. There are some nice comments coming up. I mean, excellent presentation. And there are some big fans for your book, Madhvi.
From Krishna Joshi, ma'am, excellent, was a big fan of your book. Work on retros. Glad joined, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you so much again. Thanks everyone for taking time and joining. So if you folks really like these ideas, grab a copy of the book, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Anything you need, feel free to send a message on LinkedIn. We can always stay in touch.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anything else, folks, from anyone?
Since I didn't see any other questions, only thing is beautiful comments like excellent session. There is a comment from Krishna Joshi also telling that excellent presentation. Everyone is appreciating the session. That's really wonderful.
Thank you so much. Glad to know that.
Please poll. Please poll.
Yes.
Please submit the poll, please.
Everyone, please submit the poll. It will really help us.
Help us a lot. Now, one more question, ma'am. Last question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, any tool that you're using retroaction items?
Yes, same things. I use Miro a lot, Mural a lot. For facilitating the retrospectives, especially distributed retrospectives, I use Mural a lot.
Mural. Any other tool, ma'am?
Pardon? Miro, Mural, Jamboards, Trello, Retrium.
Trello, okay. Jamboards, no?
Yeah, Jamboards. Google Jamboards.
That's all, no? I think these are the questions.
Okay.
And one more thing, yes, one more question, ma'am. You can
yes, go ahead.
One more question is you can convert in retroaction Jira as a separate issue type retrospective. So,
Yes, so see, all these items can be logged in any of your ALM tools, be it Jira, Rally, or version 1. They'll have inbuilt templates where you can actually log your retro items and you can track them. And in fact, what we said, yeah, go ahead.
One more question is goal of pulse. How do you check the goal of pulse check and how often it should be done?
See, pulse check is basically you want to check, how is your team feeling? What is the emotional status of your team? So maybe once in a while, I would say, when you start your teams, do a pulse check. How are they feeling? Are they really stressed out on a scale of 1 to 5? How happy they are on a scale of 1 to 5? You capture the data and keep it. Now, after a month, again repeat pulse check. See if there is any difference. Is there any improvement in the ratings that were given then and now? Then you'll be able to actually see how is the team, feeling. How is the engagement? How is the collaboration? How safe are they feeling? So I would say repeat it maybe every quarter or so that you can see the improvement in the emotional well-being of your teams.
Yes.
Make sense?
Yes, absolutely, Madhuri.
Yeah.
Cool. It was really fantastic session, Madhuri. Though we have faced a little bit initial technical challenges, but it went very well. And thanks to you for driving this in such a beautiful fashion. So again, all the nice comments are coming up. Probably I'll share with you more later, Madhuri.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot for joining, folks.
Thank you, Madhuri, and it's a wonderful session. And polls also people have given. You have got good votes. I will share with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you, Madhuri.
Thanks, everyone.